Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Mindset Matters webinar. Just as a quick just test to make sure everyone can hear, if you can just type in the chat that you can hear me loud and clear, then we can begin. Okay, loud and clear. That's great. Perfect. Thank you for that. And again, welcome to Mindset Matters. I just wanted to give you a quick intro to why I'm doing this, and I wanted to say thank you first of all for joining. We've got people from all over the world here, Europe, America, England, and I really appreciate you spending your time. Bit of housekeeping. First of all, the chat on the right hand side, or if it's on the right hand side for you, if it says you're typing to all the panelists, only I can see that. The other attendees can't see your messages, and there's a reason for that, and I'll go through that in a second. So Mindset Matters is a 1 hour seminar that I'm going to be running every week. I've done these seminars live, and a lot of the people that are logged in have come to see me live, which I really appreciate. But this we can do from the comfort of our own home. We can expand it out to a wider audience. So it's really beneficial because it works for people who can't make it to the live seminars. And like I say, we've got people from all over here, and I really appreciate that you're giving up your time to spend with me on this Zoom call. A lot of people have asked me, like, why Zoom? Why not Facebook Live? Why not YouTube? And there's a reason for that. And the reason is Zoom is not something that you're just going to come across like Facebook Live. You could see me live right now and log in for a second and then be like, okay, I'll listen to that for a minute and then log straight off. The same with YouTube. You passively take that information in. Why I want to say thank you to everyone that's here is that you've actively spent time either downloading an app, logging on, scheduling some time to listen to this. And so you're active in your participation to learn. There's so much information out there. I put an Instagram post out the other day. There is so much information on Instagram. But if you just think about how much information are you just taking passively, that information that's coming to you, you're not going anywhere for it. You're on Instagram anyway, and it's coming into your news feed. Or you're on Facebook anyway, and you see a great quote or a video. But there's a difference between passively taking this information. And I'm not saying that passively taking it's not good. I'm just saying there's a big difference between passively having information sent to you and you going out and seeking information. And so for you to be here, you've had to do something to get here. And that's why I wanted to do it on Zoom, because it's a platform where you have to actively go to. You can't just let it come to you. And so that's why Zoom. Another reason for Zoom is, like I mentioned on the chat box, you can only chat to me. I'm the only one who sees the things that you write. And so what I wanted to do was create a safe environment for everyone where you can ask questions without feeling like you're having to ask in public, because maybe the questions you'll have over time really relate to your personal situation and you don't want to share that out loud. You don't want to stand up in front of a room and raise your hand and say, this is what's going on with me. How do I overcome it? But on the chat box, I can see it. I don't have to reveal anyone's identity. I can read the message and respond to it out loud, and you can get the information that you need. The other thing with that is I really encourage everybody to chat during the webinar. Ask for more information if you feel like you want more clarity on something. Speak up, share your opinions, ask questions. We're going to have a dedicated question and answer session towards the end of the session of the time today. But I want you to participate. And one of the major reasons I want you to participate is when you participate in something, you retain more information. Passively listening to me for an hour, you'll retain some information. If you've got a pen and a paper and you're writing things down, you'll retain a lot more information because you're choosing what to write down. You're making a conscious choice that this information is important. I'm going to make a record of it. But when you participate and you ask questions and you interact, that's when you retain even more information. Another thing is the questions that you ask. There's no stupid question. There's no question that's irrelevant. And the question that you ask not only will help you get clarity, but by you asking a question, you might also help someone else to learn through your questions. And questions are so important because sometimes someone might be listening and you might ask a question and then I'll answer it. And everybody takes the meaning from the answer, not just you. So you're doing everybody a service if you ask a question. The whole point of this is to create a community of people from around the world who can log into these webinars. We're going to do them every couple of weeks. with a different focus and a different theme. But it's really about building an empowering group of people who are dedicated and willing to make changes in their life and learn the tools and techniques to do that. Just a bit about me. I've been coaching for over 5 years now. I love it. It's my passion. I truly believe it's my purpose. And I've spent a many number of years studying different disciplines, getting qualified in different subjects. I'm a qualified master coach, hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, timeline therapist, pranic healer. And I don't list all those things just to impress you. I list them because I want you to understand that this journey for me is not about just learning one style of therapy or one style of coaching. It's about taking in the best from all different genres and styles and then combining them into delivering them into something that helps, because I'm really dedicated to find out what makes a difference in people's lives. Because I always wanted to understand what does make the difference between someone who's been through incredible hardship and maintains a happy, healthy, positive life, and some people who seemingly have everything, good family, money, everything that they could look for, but are still unhappy with what's going on. I didn't understand the difference. It's not the situation. It must be something stronger. And so I've been on this journey looking for the answer to that question. How do we learn this stuff? And is it learnable, first of all? And the answer to that is definitely yes. There's tools, there's techniques, there's training, there's consistency, there's all the things that we need to do, but there is a way to model excellence and to see successful people, and to not successful in terms of business and financial, but successful people in life and do what they're doing. And there's no point reinventing the wheel, but there's a point evolving the wheel and making it better every time. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to learn the techniques so that we can improve our own mindset, so we can get to the quality of life that we want to. As I mentioned, please do take notes if you can. If it's not possible, you can catch the recording, take notes later, but do participate. And also, the reason for that is because intellectually you'll hear me and you'll understand and you'll get knowledge from this without a doubt, but knowledge is not power on its own. Knowledge is just potential power. Knowledge alone will give you good information, but if you're not putting that knowledge into practice, then how well do you really know something? And so we have to look at things and think, yes, we want this information, we want to gain it, we want to know it, we want to logically, intellectually understand it because that feels great, but then we have to feel it and use it, because once you use it, you know how it works. And once you use it, you can replicate it. And so we want to make something that we know, we want to use it so often so that it becomes a good habit. And so today, I wanted to speak to you about the power of focus. And when I'm talking about focus, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about doing a task and just sticking to that task. What I'm talking about when I'm talking about focus today is I'm talking about what you're paying attention to. And what I mean by that is not just the things that you've got to do right now, but what are you noticing in your life? If your vision was a camera, what are you focused on? Because there's a whole scene, but what are you taking a picture of? What are you noticing? What's in focus for you? And that's what I want to talk about today. And so I want to just share with you a slide, because what I want to show you and talk to you about is why we're talking about focus today. And the reason why we're talking about focus is one of the 3 keys to changing how you feel at any given moment. The keys that we have to change how we feel, to change our state of mind, is what we're focused on in any given moment. The meaning that has to us, or the language that we use to describe. And finally, body language, and that's also known as physiology, how we hold our body in any moment. There's a body style for depression, there's a body style for ecstasy. They're completely different styles, and our body can lead the mind. I'm going to do a whole series on physiology and body language. That's how important it is. It's not just a mental activity, this is also very much a physical one. And so we're going to talk about focus today. And I first wanted to start off by talking about the three tools that we've got in our soul, in our body, in our mind. And the 3 tools that we have are our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, and our physiology, our body language, our energy. And I just wanted to start off today by talking about the difference between these 3 things and why they're so important. Our conscious mind is the part of the mind that is the logical part, that does the analysis, that makes the decisions, that chooses things. It's the intelligence that we have. That's the conscious part of our mind. It's the bit that creates the filter and says, logically, we need to do this. We need to do this next. We're thinking with this part of our brain. And logically knowing something is good, but subconsciously, there's so much power in our subconscious part of our brain, part of our mind. The subconscious is where our emotions and our feelings live. The subconscious mind is where our belief system and our values are. And so consciously, we make decisions based on our beliefs, based on our values, based on our emotions. Our intellect listens to our subconscious, listens to our emotions and our feelings, and then makes decisions based on that. And the subconscious mind is so, so powerful because it contains all this information. And as I'm going to explain a bit later, it processes so much information. And we don't even know that it's doing it. It's doing it subconsciously, underneath the radar. Finally, physiology. And I talk a lot about physiology because doing something is fine. You can do a lot of things, but the energy that you do them with makes the difference. You can be friendly, you can be unfriendly. That's an energy. And when we're talking about consciously, we know we need to do something, but if we don't believe that it's going to work and we don't put the energy into it, how are we ever going to achieve it? And so our subconscious and our physiology are so important. People often think that our conscious mind is the most strongest part of us, and that's the bit that does all the work. But actually, it's not. The conscious mind is not where the power lies. The conscious mind, as I'll come on to explain, is the bit that just does the final thing, the final choice. But the choice was predetermined by your subconscious and by your physiology in the first place. How you set yourself up, the belief system you had, your conscious mind just followed that through. And so for me, the conscious mind is disconnected from the other two, but it's also the weakest muscle that we flex because we're on this constant journey of trying to understand intellectually why we have our problems, why we have our challenges. We try to understand the world, but we don't look at our feelings and try and change them. We don't look at our belief systems and try and change them and think, are these beliefs good for me? Am I setting myself up in a way that consciously I can even win? Or are we too busy trying to think our way out of a problem? Because we can't necessarily think ourselves out of a problem. We have to combine emotional resources and energetic resources to overcome that problem. Thinking about something is just not enough. Because if you think about something and you really don't believe it's going to work, it's not going to work. But the flip side of that's true. If you believe something so strongly, it doesn't matter what you consciously know, you'll believe it anyway. Think about so many things out there. When someone has such a strong belief, you can tell them all the proof you want in the world. You can give them all the logic. But if they believe something, they believe it. And that's all that matters. And that trumps conscious knowledge. And the same way that our conscious knowledge isn't enough if we don't believe in it. And so I wanted to speak about something else. And I'm just checking through the messages as we're going through. And one of the questions that's come in is, how do you solidify a new belief? And that's what we'll definitely be talking about. So that's a great question. We'll be coming on to that. I just want to give you the background knowledge first. So we've got beliefs and they govern what we do next. And when we come to talk about focus, our focus is also governed by our beliefs, because what we're focused on is what we want to see based on our beliefs. We focus on the things that are important to us, and we focus on the things that we believe are important to us, or we focus on things that are in line with our identity. And I'm going to speak about that because we have three usual ways of thinking. We have opinions, we have beliefs, and there's facts. Opinions could be something that you've got a view on, but you're not completely wedded to that opinion either. It's like, you might like the Buddha that I've got here, or you might not. It's an opinion. Or you might like the way your hair looks right now, or the jeans you've got, and 6 months later you're like, I don't really like these jeans anymore. You change your opinion on something. Opinions are flexible. Then we've got facts. Facts are indisputable. Facts are something that happen to everybody, no matter if you're a good person, if you're a bad person, if you're black, you're white, you're green, you're yellow, it doesn't matter. A fact is a fact. Let's take, for example, gravity. The law of gravity is a law because it's a fact. It doesn't matter if you're a good person or a bad person. If you climb to the top of a building and jump, you're gonna fall down. It's a fact. There's no, oh, well, you're a good person, so you're not gonna fall. You're gonna get to the bottom. So facts are indisputable. And in the middle of these two things, an opinion and a fact, we've got these things called beliefs. And now a belief, that could be really dangerous or really powerful, because a belief is something that we think that is true so strongly, it becomes a fact in our mind. Even if there's evidence to dispute it, we believe it so much that we make it true, and we find evidence to make it true, and we focus on things making it true, because a belief is part of our identity. And when we have to give up a belief, we have to give up part of our identity, and people don't want to do that. They will defend their beliefs till death. If you look at any religious war that's happened in human history, any war that's been fought over religion, they're fighting over ideas and beliefs. They're not fighting over facts. And there's religious wars within religions. Religions are fighting themselves because someone believes a slightly different way to another. And people are killing themselves over this stuff and dying and killing other people because their belief is so strong. And to lose a belief means losing part of our identity. And we will defend our beliefs till death. And so we focus on the things that defend our beliefs. But here's the question. We've got these beliefs, but do we even know where they came from? Did we even choose them? Has anyone ever sat there and thought, I don't want this belief, it's no good for me? Where have these beliefs come from? They've come from a number of places. We're a cocktail of beliefs that have come from our past experiences. They've come from what people have told us over time, maybe family, maybe friends, society, the media, what you're exposed to, the messages that you constantly get. They create beliefs in you. As I said before, traumas, past experiences, what's happened to you have created a belief about the world. And so, and also fears that haven't even happened yet, they cause beliefs. If we fear something, we believe it's not going to work, we believe our future is not going to be good, we shape our destiny based on that. And so our focus in life is what we pay attention to based on our belief system and how we solidify a new belief. And I want to come onto this in a lot more detail, but we have to choose, first of all, what we want to believe and know what we currently believe, because it's not just enough to run life on what I like to call autopilot. Just we do what we've always done because it's always been there. You set a plane on autopilot, it just follows the direction it's told to follow. If we live our life on autopilot, we're following a belief system we've told our subconscious mind to follow without choosing it. We might not have made a choice. I don't ever remember sitting in front of a catalog of beliefs and saying, yes, I want this one. No, I don't want this one. This one's good for me. This was not good for me. But we've got these beliefs. And the thing with beliefs is they're installed in us so subtly. It's so under the radar how a belief system happens. It's not something that you choose or you have this big moment where it's like, here's a belief, go take it. They just very subconsciously, very subliminally get installed into your body by people around you, by the things you're exposed to, by the way you're brought up, by your parents, by the media, by all these places. And so belief is so important to us, but we have to choose our belief. And focus, as I say again, is what we choose to see based on our beliefs. And when we talk about inspirational people in our lives, people that move us, you might hear a speech or you might hear someone speak and it really moves you. Inspirational people have the ability to make us change focus. They make us believe something new, and we're inspired to act because now we believe something different. And so we can inspire ourselves. We can be our own inspirational person by choosing to focus on something different and choosing a new belief. And so beliefs can cause so much conflict because we're in a world where people don't want to see gray areas and they don't want to learn from each other's beliefs. They want there to be a right and a wrong. Because if my belief's my identity and you have a different belief and I come at it from a perspective of one of us right and one of us wrong, then only one of us can exist in our brains, because like either you're wrong or I'm wrong, and I don't want to be wrong, and I'm going to find all the evidence to support my belief. So I'm going to focus on that, and I'm going to find the evidence I need to support my own system. I'm just reading the questions as they're coming in, and we will get to them. So please do keep typing them in as we're going along. So we talked about focus, and another word for that is what we're paying attention to. And attention is one of the most essential mental resources that any living thing can have. And that's because if we're not paying attention to things, when we potentially might not survive. If you think about humans from a caveman perspective or animals, if they're not paying attention, there could be predators around. If they're not paying attention, they might not eat. And yes, we're more evolved in terms of our mind than animals, but we still have to pay attention to things like what time we need to get up tomorrow to get to work. We need to pay attention to, have we eaten enough today? Are our sons and daughters being looked after? Have we nourished ourselves? Have we drank enough water? We've still got to pay attention because we're still surviving, even that we survive in a different way than we used to. And so our conscious mind, our neurons in our brain, they filter out all the information that we don't need because there's so much of it coming through to us in any given moment. There's so much information that we're being bombarded with that we have to make a decision. Our conscious mind has to make a decision on what we need to pay attention to. And when we think about paying attention to something, we need to delete information because it's too much of it to take in. And so we remove information, we pay attention to things that are important to us, but they're important to us because we believe that they're important to us. And we select and cherry pick the information that we need to pay attention to. I was looking at a study, and there's a book that's out called Extraordinary Mind, and it was talking about there's 11 million pieces of data per second that you're bombarded with through your senses, 11 million in any given second coming through you, through your five senses. This is not even to mention what's going on outside of your five senses, what you're feeling energetically, what you're feeling spiritually, all those things that, you know, there is a basis for. We're just talking about the five senses, 11 million pieces of data per second. The book goes on to say that the human brain can only process 120 bits per second of that 11 million, 120. We have to delete and remove all the rest from our attention because we just can't process that much information. We have to make a decision, and the decision happens subconsciously. And the book also says that when you're having a conversation with someone, that takes up 60 bits per second, 60 pieces of data per second. That's why it's really difficult to have a conversation with two people at the same time, because you're at full capacity. That is your 120 and you're maxed out. You can have a conversation with someone and still do other things, but our ability and capacity to take in information is so limited. And we see this a lot. There's something else called the cocktail party effect. And what that is the psychological study where it's basically talking about if you're at a party and someone in the corner of a room talks about you or talks about someone that's important to you, you zone into that conversation and you manage to listen to it and you manage to block out all the other conversations that are happening because that's important to you and there's a belief in you that's important. And your brain searches out what's important to you and brings it to your attention. You didn't actively go, who's talking about me right now, but you just overhear something and it triggers you subconsciously because you believe that that's important to you. And so you find it. And so our focus is determined by what we believe, and our brain is also working on autopilot. These belief systems are being installed, and we go out to find what we want to be true, what we believe to be true, unless we set our focus on something else. I'm running a quiz at the moment online, and one of the questions for the quiz is, in one word, what's the most important thing for you to have in your life? And almost all respondents, I would say over 90% of respondents, are writing happiness down as the number one thing that they want in their life. But they also, from the results of the questionnaire, showing that they're looking outside of themselves for that. They're looking for things to change. So they're constantly focused on the fact that they're not happy and focused on what's lacking and thinking that once something outside of them changes, that they will be happy. But I just want to make this point. Happiness is not a destination. It's a process and a journey. And it's about focus. If you want to be happy and you're not focusing on what's good in your life right now and what's good in your life every day, there's not going to be one magical moment where you wake up and you are happy. It doesn't work like that. It works by you constantly practicing happiness every day, because it's not the end game, it's the process. It's a journey, and the destination of happiness will never come the way you think it will come. It comes when you habitually practice happiness by focusing on happiness every single day. And so whatever we focus on, we search out and we find, we build in our brain. We have the ability to find evidence to support what we want to find. And we talked about the subconscious mind. I don't know if many of you have seen the film The Secret. The Secret's a really good film for describing the law of attraction. And in one part of The Secret, they use the analogy that the subconscious mind is like the genie in Aladdin. And the genie in Aladdin does what you tell it to do. You make a wish and it says, your wish is my command. It brings it into existence. But what the secret doesn't tell you is the genie the genie that is your subconscious mind doesn't have an opinion on whether it thinks it's a good idea or a bad idea. It doesn't say, actually, you know what, you wanted this, I don't think it's good for you. It goes, you want that, it's yours. And so often we're asking our genie to bring about things in our life that we don't even want because we haven't defined it. We're looking for frustration, we're looking for problems, we're looking for our challenges. And when we look for them, and when we set our focus on what's missing from life, what's the problems in our life, our genie goes, oh, okay, you're looking for that. Let me find all the evidence that's in your past, in your present, and the evidence that could be there in the future. Let me bring it to you because you asked for this and I have to provide evidence. Your wish is my command. That's how it works until we program our subconscious mind in that way. And it won't dispute what it thinks is a bad idea. It just does it. It just acts upon it. And so what we focus on, we find. What we focus on, we notice, we bring into our existence, we delete all the other information, the 11 million pieces of data that's out there, and we focus on what we want to believe in. That's why you could go to a party with someone and you can have a completely different experience. They could come back going, oh, that party was so much fun. It was great. I had a great time. This was funny. This was good. Did you see it when this happened? And another person who maybe went into that party in a bad mood would like, it was boring. I had a rubbish time. No one talked to me. I didn't enjoy it at all. But the party was the party. It's just what you choose to take from that, what you choose to see, how you set yourself up to go in there, what you wanted to see when you were in there. And so another example of this is if you look around your room right now and you try and notice everything in your room that's red. So if you just take a second and look around and see all the red things that are in your room, everything, it might be a cup, it might be a picture frame, it could be anything. Have a look, see red, see red, see red everywhere. And if I asked you to close your eyes and say out loud all the things in your room that are green, you wouldn't be able, unless you know that room really well, which you might, but your recollection of the things that are red is going to be so much stronger than green. Why? Because you're focused on that. So you bring it into your existence, you notice that you filter everything out. Same for when people buy a new car. People buy a new car and all of a sudden they start to see that car everywhere. I'm sure that's happened to you. You buy a new car, you see that same make and model, you see the same color everywhere. And now, is it that there's more of those cars on the road? No, it's that your attention, you believe that that car is your car and you like it because you were attracted to it for some reason. And now you see it everywhere because it's important to you. And we're not just talking about things that we can physically do with our vision. Yes, it's great to notice all the red and not notice all the green. But I'm talking about emotionally, we do the same thing. Yes, we can physically say, I notice more of these things with my eyes, but what are you noticing emotionally? What are you choosing to notice emotionally? Because we need to set a focus. We need to choose what we're looking for. Imagine you feel that someone's frustrating or annoying as a person. That's what you're setting yourself up to see in them. You're choosing that belief and that focus about them. And that's another example for you, is knowing what you're focused on, you head towards that direction. There's two examples of this. If you ever see a horse with blinkers on, it's because the owner of that horse is trying to make it focus on where it needs to go, not the distractions around it. That's why those things were invented, because otherwise the horse is going to be distracted and looking out what's going on. It's not going to go down the path it needs to go. Another example, and this is I find this one really interesting, is Formula One drivers or racing drivers. When they're taught to race, when they're taught to drive, if they spin out of control and are heading towards the wall, they are taught not to look at the wall. Whatever you do, do not look at the wall. Look at where you want to go to, no matter how hard that might sound. If you're heading towards a wall, don't look at it. Look towards the open road. Your body will do the rest. That's how racing drivers are taught to avert crisis and danger and not hit the wall, is to look at where they want to go, not where they are going, where they want to go. That's how we start to change a belief system in ourselves. We start to think about where we want to go, what we want to do, and then practice that. And once we have that focus, our body will make the adjustment to go in that direction. It takes practice, it takes habitual work. It's not something that you can do once and think, oh, it didn't work yesterday, so I'm not doing it anymore. You need to do this consistently, because repetition is the skill that we all need. Any great skill that you have in your life right now is because you repeated it enough times that you became so skillful at it and so good at it. And so We need to focus on those things. Another really interesting thing about focus is we're the only animal on this earth that can think ourselves into stress. We have that capacity to think something and receive an emotion because of it. So it might be good sometimes. We might be visualizing the future and feel really good about it. Or it might be, oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow when I go into work? And we think ourselves into stress. So we're focused on something that hasn't even happened yet. And we're receiving all the chemicals in our body that are causing stress. We're feeling all the tension. We're feeling all the emotions, and it hasn't even happened because we're focused on the wrong areas in life. We also are in an environment called a delayed return environment. Now, animals and humans to start, we're in an environment called an immediate return environment. That is, something happens and there's an immediate action and it's resolved. For example, a gazelle sees a lion, it's scared, it feels anxiety and fear, it runs away, it's crisis averted, it's over immediately. It did an action, it received an immediate return for that action. Human beings in the last, I think the study said 100, 200 years, technology has improved so fast, but our brain hasn't improved that fast and evolved that fast. And now we're living in something called a delayed return environment. And a delayed return environment is what you do today, you don't get the return on it today. You get it later on down the line. You do work today, you get paid at the end of the month. You save for your retirement now so that in a few years' time, you have money to live on. Everything's about being delayed. All our gratitude is delayed. All our return is delayed. And so what that causes is our brain's not made to solve delayed return challenges. It's made to solve instant challenges. And so when we're in this delayed environment, all we do is get stressed out because we don't know the answer to the question yet. If I've got something that I'm doing today that I don't know if it's going to pay off in a year's time, I've got a year's worth of time to think about how stressful that could be and ask myself all the negative questions and focus on all the difficulties that might occur. What might not work? What if it goes wrong? Why did I take this on in the first place? We've got all these things going on in our head, and anxiety and fears can creep in. And again, because we're living in this delayed return environment, we have to realize that now more than ever is it so important for us to shape and choose our focus, because we're not going to get the gratitude and the return on our investment straight away. So we need to build that mindset right now to think these things might take time to come. So what am I going to focus on? Am I going to focus on the progress that I'm making? I'm going to focus on the steps that I'm taking forward? Or am I going to focus on the fact that I haven't got it right now and oh my God, what's going to happen next? That's the choice. Once we know this information, we have to put it into practice. This knowledge will help you understand yourself a bit better, that we can't fix things immediately. Sometimes we're going to have to wait, but that's when focus becomes so, so important. And so I want to show you another slide, and I want to talk about what messes up our focus. And I've got the slide here. I'm just going to grab it for you. What our focus is shaped on is, here we go. So we need to understand the answer to this question. What is fucking up your focus? What is getting in the way of you focusing? It comes down to three things: deletion, generalization, distortion. This is what shapes our focus. Once we know these things, we can use them to our advantage. Once we don't know them, they're using us. Deletion. Deletion is removing information. Deletion is what I was talking about earlier about you get so much information a day. What are you paying attention to? Are you paying attention to how annoying your partner is? Or are you paying attention to how much love they bring you, or how grateful you are for them, or what they have done for you? Or are you looking at what they're not doing for you? What are you paying attention to? What information are you deleting? Because here's the thing, what's wrong in your life is always available and always there if you want to focus on it. But so is what's right. All the good things in your life are available for you to see at any moment you want to see them. You've just got to choose to see that. So that's deletion. Deletion, again, we remove the things that aren't important to us, that we don't believe are important to us. We delete the things that don't agree with our belief systems. Generalization. This is another one. This is where you've had an experience before. And so the next time you come up to an experience that looks and feels even similar, you think it's the same, you generalize and think, oh, this happened last time, so this must happen again. It's like when people say, I'm I never get lucky. They're generalizing every experience that they had in their life. They're just making a sweeping generalization. And they're not even talking about, they're not even talking about, they're not talking about what's the reality. They're just talking about the generalized information. When we generalize, we're just making huge assumptions on our life that things aren't the way that we are. We're not looking for new evidence. We're looking for everything to fit into a box. And finally, distortion. Distortion is a really interesting one. Distortion is where we make information fit the belief that we want it to have. For example, we could say, my husband didn't buy me flowers, therefore he doesn't love me. We're distorting that piece of information that he bought you flowers and saying, now he does. I've got this belief he doesn't love me, and this is evidence to prove it, and I'll distort that evidence to make it true. Another way of looking at distortion is, you know, when someone in your life who you don't really like, or you don't get on with, or you don't trust, and then one day they do something nice for you. And rather than thinking, oh, that was really nice, you think, well, what did they want? You know, I don't trust them. There must be an ulterior motive behind this. We distort that nice thing that they did for us because we believe that they're not a nice person. Maybe they're not a nice person, I don't know, but you understand the concept, I'm sure. And we can distort in the other way as well. You've got a best friend who snaps at you one day, and you think, rather than, oh my God, what a horrible person, you think, there must be something wrong with that because I know they're not that kind of person. You distort that information to make it fit the belief system you have about that person. So you can use it in a positive way as well, for compassion. But we're distorting information all the time to fit into our belief system. Another way distortion can go really bad is when people stay in a relationship too long because they're distorting the things that happen and thinking, oh, it's not that bad. You know, because I believe that this relationship will work. I believe it's good for me. I believe this is the right person. So anything that happens to me, I'll distort it and color it the way I want to color it to make it fit my belief, because not believing something is too painful. Not believing this is the right relationship is so painful. Not believing that this is going to last is so painful. So I'll distort this information. I'll delete this information. I'll generalize it so it fits into my way of being, so that I can hold on to this. That might not even be good for me. Those are the three things that play a huge role in our focus. And so when we're talking about deleting, it's about setting a focus. And I want to come onto this because we're 40 minutes in, and I want you to have this knowledge. And I also want you to know how to apply this to your life, because a lot of the questions I'm seeing is asking those things, and how we apply it will cover a lot of the questions that have come in. Keep sending them in. The questions are great. One of the questions here is, how do we overcome the pain of coming out of this distorted thoughts? The pain's only there because it means something to you, but when something means more, then the pain of not doing it has to become stronger than the pain of doing it. And so when we have distorted thoughts, there's pain in letting that go. Of course there is, until we understand why are we doing it. When I'm coming on to talking about focus now and changing our focus, we need to know why we want to change our focus. It's not enough to just think, okay, we need to change our focus because it's the right thing to do. Because as I said at the start, logically, knowing that you should change is never enough. It's never going to do the job for you. So the pain that you're feeling of coming out of those beliefs is because intellectually, you know, I've got to change and it's going to be painful. But when you start to feel the benefit of those change, understanding why you're doing it, motivating yourself to think, I want to change. I want to leave this pain behind. I want to leave these distorted thoughts behind. That's what I want to do. Then there's no more pain because you're focused on something else right now. And so let's talk about focus. Let's talk about changing our focus. Changing our focus comes down to a few things. Number one is, let's use those concepts I just spoke about to our advantage: distortion, generalization, deletion. But I don't want us to be in denial about what's going on either. And I'm here not to say just focus on all the great things in your life all the time. Anyone who knows me, and there's a lot of people on this call who work with me one-to-one, they will know that I'm not a positive thinking advocate that you should just blind yourself into thinking things are great if they're not great. I think that we should be realistic, first of all, but not looking at our problems in life as worse than they are and doomsday and thinking, oh my God, this is a challenge, it's so bad. Looking at it to identify the challenge, we need to be real so that we can confront what we're really feeling. we're not real about it and we're just blindly saying, this is great, everything's great, and your life's falling apart. No, you need to be real about what the challenges you're facing so you can overcome them. But here's the thing, definition of the problem, not wallowing in the problem, not living in the problem. I saw something recently that said 10% of your time should be spent on a problem, 90% of your time should be spent on the solution. And the 10% of your time that you're spending on the problem should just be to identify the problem, not to cry about it. And there's nothing wrong with crying about it, by the way. I definitely believe that you should feel what you need to feel. You should allow these emotions to come. Frustration is necessary. Pain is necessary. They're all good emotions that can motivate us in the right direction. You need to feel, you need to be real, you need to allow yourself, but we can't stay there forever. We need to find an empowering way to move forward. And I'm definitely all about feeling what's real to you. I'm definitely not about shutting your emotions down or just soldiering on. You have to feel what you feel. You have to know that you're frustrated. You have to know that you're sad. You have to feel those feelings and then move forward from them. So first thing, to change this, I've just got a comment saying, I really like that 90% should be about the solution. I want to reiterate that to you. 90% of your time solution, 10% of your time problem, 10% to identify the problem and feel what you need to feel, then get on with moving forward. See it for what it is, and then see it better than what it is. That's the whole process here, is not to get stuck in seeing why it's so bad. So to change our focus, first of all, the challenge is this, and I'm going to send a worksheet around to everybody that's on this call afterwards, which details this and which you can work through in your own time. But I want you to think about this. Think of an area in your life where you're facing a challenge. This is how we implement this stuff. Think of an area that's challenging for you. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a situation at work, maybe it's something, maybe it's someone, whatever it is for you, what's challenging to you. Once you've identified it, first step, let's get real. What are you truly focusing on? When you take your ego away from it, when you move the ego and this whole, I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. When you decide that and you ask yourself, what am I focusing on in this situation? What am I really looking at? What am I habitually seeing with this challenge all the time? Then you start to notice, okay, maybe I'm focusing on this. I'm focusing on how angry this person makes me. I'm focusing on how frustrated I am. I'm focused on this. I'm focused on this. I'm focused on this. And now, once you realize those things and you're truly honest with yourself, you can start to confront the demon that is in front of you. And once you stare at that demon and identify it, you can move forward from it. Once you know what you're focusing on, here's the great thing. Human beings have the ability, like I said, to think ourselves into a state. So what do you want to focus on is the next question. I've got a question that's coming that just says, how do you teach yourself to focus on the positive always? Practice, number one. It does come down to what you're doing habitually, what you're doing over time, over and over again. It doesn't come down to doing it once. You made yourself focus on negative things potentially. If you are focused on negative, you made yourself focus by focusing on it every day. It's been practice. It's habitual. You do it so often, it's become second nature. Any skill that you do enough becomes subconscious, like driving a car. When you first drove a car, you had to think about everything. Indicator on, change gear. Is it time for the brake? Do I press the clutch? Have I done my mirror? You're conscious of all those things. Now when you drive, you're just in the car, you're gone, you don't even think about it because it's habitual skill. Once we master something, it becomes subconscious. What we have to do now is we have to be consciously thinking, what do I want to focus on? Consciously thinking about, is this good for me? Over and over and over and over again until it becomes automatic. It will become automatic with practice. So the thing is, what are you focusing on at the moment that's not serving you? What do you want to focus on? Truthfully, what is it that you want to see? We have that ability to create. What are the emotions that you want to see from this challenge? What are the things that you want to notice that you haven't noticed before? That probably have always been there if you chose them. What could you focus on right now if you really wanted to? And that's the question that I want you to think. Never mind just the challenge you're facing. If you have got a pen and a paper, I encourage you to write down now in the moment, what do you want to focus on? But I also just want to ask you this question. What could you focus on right now if you really wanted to? What could you focus on that gives you feelings of love and gratitude? Focus of good energy, happiness, joy, success, progress, growth, contribution. All those emotions, all those things, we've got evidence in our lives to support any one of those emotions we want to find. But we need to look for them. We need to acknowledge them. And again, acknowledge them, look for them. But here's what I would also really encourage you, and it makes all the difference, is not just know these things. What could I focus on right now? Well, I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for that I've got water. I'm grateful for that I'm grateful I've got a job. I'm grateful for this. People are really good at listing a bunch of things that they're grateful for off the top of their head, but they don't mean it. There's no feeling when they say it. They're just like, oh, I'm grateful for this. When you what do you want to focus on and why? What do you see in your life that's good and why is it good? Feel it, breathe it, become it. Have that energy in your body. We talked earlier about energy and physiology and body language and our subconscious ability, where our emotions and our feelings lie. We have to feel these things. It's not enough to know them. It's not enough to know what you're grateful for. It's important when you know what you're grateful for and you feel those emotions as well. And you feel it in your body, your energy changes, you snap into something and you're like, yes, I feel that it's a completely different energy than I'm grateful that I've got a job. I'm grateful I've got a job. Why? Because it gives me money so I can buy things for my kids. It puts a roof over my head. I feel really good that I've got freedom to be able to buy things that I want to buy. It gives me a lifestyle that I want. It's opened up doors for me. It's made me meet new people. I've got a social life now. All these things are why you're grateful for it. It's not enough to just know what you're grateful for. You need to know why too. I also want to talk about questions that we ask ourselves. This is part 2 of the worksheet that I'm going to send out. These are, what are the habitual questions that you ask yourself on a daily basis? Because questions set our focus. We are an evaluation machine. We are constantly evaluating everything we do in our life, and we're constantly asking questions over and over and over and over again. What time shall I wake up? Have I got enough time to get to work? What should I have for breakfast? Is this going to get done on time for the deadline? What am I going to do when I get home? How long is it going to take me to get home? Should I go to the gym today? What time shall I go to sleep? What am I going to do about the headache that I've got? Should I take a tablet? Shouldn't I? You've got all these questions going along in your mind all the time. But there's other questions that we have, questions that shape our focus. Why does this always happen to me? How come I never get lucky? What's wrong with this situation? Those questions set our focus. And we've got 2 major questions that we ask ourselves that are disempowering. Why questions and what if questions. Why questions are interesting because they're sometimes endless loop questions. Why was that person so horrible to me? Why was that person so mean to me? You're never going to get the answer to that question. There's not enough information. You can't go into the past and understand why. Maybe it's the way they were brought up. Maybe they didn't eat that day. Maybe they didn't sleep that day. Maybe they did this. Maybe they did that. There's so much data that we need to get closure on the answer. It's called an endless loop question, a why question, because you'll never get the answer that you want, but you'll constantly focus on it. Have you ever spent hours and hours trying to answer a question that's impossible to answer, but you're just focused on why this, why this, why? There's no answer to that. It's so disempowering. It takes so much energy trying to answer a question that you can't answer. It's endless. One why question leads to another why question. Anyone on this webinar who's got kids and their kids are in that why stage, why do I have to do this? Well, you have to do this because this. Why? Constantly why? Because they want to know underneath why. What's the reason behind this? And when we ask it to ourselves as adults, so often we won't find the answer that we're looking for because there's just too much that's happened. There's too much information gone on. The other problem with why questions is that there's hidden assumptions in a why question. Now, if I was to ask you, why is this person so mean? There's an underlying assumption that that person is mean. It's almost like that's a fact. I'm just asking why are they mean? I'm not asking if they're mean. I'm asking you why are they? That means it's a fact. For example, if I was to say, regardless of your political stance right now, why is Donald Trump such an idiot? That includes the fact that Donald Trump's an idiot. If you are a Donald Trump fan, then that's not true for you. But why is something true? It's called a presupposition. It's an underlying fact. If I said, why are dogs so aggressive? For you to answer that question, you have to agree with my assumption that dogs are so aggressive. And when we ask why questions, we make hidden assumptions, and they're dangerous because it's a belief that might not be real. The problem with the other type of questions, what if questions, are what if questions can't also be answered because they're hypothetical or in the future. What if it goes wrong? And most of the time when people ask what if questions, they ask them from the negative. What if it doesn't work? They don't ask, well, what if it does work? What if it all goes wrong? What if it all goes right? What if it works out exactly the way you planned? What if it's the moment of your dreams? Not if, what if it breaks me, this situation? The why and the what if questions that are floating around our head shape our focus, shape the way we're moving, because they create fears and beliefs and doubts in us that make us go in a certain direction. So how do we change that? Again, we need to choose something different. Number one, what are the questions that are floating through your mind? What are those questions for you? Is it why always me? Is it why doesn't anything in my life go well? Is that the question you've got? If it is, it's cool. This isn't identifying so we can feel bad about ourselves and beat ourselves up. Everybody's flawed in their own way. There's no such thing as perfection. We're not supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to be, there's not perfection, there's progression. Practice makes progress. Practice doesn't make perfect. There's always another way to go. And so I don't want us to know these things so that we can look at them and think, oh my God, I'm such a bad person because I've got these questions that are going through my mind. Not at all. Have compassion for yourself first and foremost. We're all facing these battles. We're all in the same challenge. The reason everybody's here on this webinar is because they want to be better. They want to know these things. So get these questions down. What is it that the question you're asking yourself? Not to feel bad about it, just to look at it so we can consciously understand it. Then let's think about this. How can we ask ourselves a better question? Better questions are usually what and how. What can I do to improve this situation? How can I grow from this? What can I learn that's going to make me better from this? I mean, if you've got questions that you have in your mind and you want to reframe them right now, write what your old questions were in the chat box, share them with me, and I'll help you rewrite them. And I'll show you examples of what we can do with that. One just come in and it says, ha ha ha, how can I stop being so fat is my question. Well, the question really is why am I fat? But here's the thing, that's not a great question to ask yourself, because if you're saying, why am I fat? You're making it a fact that you're fat. It's not a fact. You might be not in the shape that you want to be in, but if you're saying why, all your brain's searching out is for reasons why you're overweight. It's going to say, because you eat too much, and because you don't exercise, and because of this, and because of this, and because of genetics, and because of this person, and because you didn't walk around, you didn't go to the gym. And so the better question to ask ourselves in that incident is, what can I do to get fit? And even better than that is, what can I do to get fitter and enjoy it? Rather than just what can I do to get fit, what can I do tomorrow? What can I do today to help myself progress, to get fitter and enjoy the process? If that's my number one question every day when I wake up, how can I enjoy getting fitter today? That's my focus. Then I'll get to where I want to go to. And it's a completely different shift than beating ourselves up for feeling a certain way. And because we're in this delayed response environment that I was talking about, we're not often going to see the result right now today. So we have to think to ourselves, okay, what can I do today to make the situation better? Because I want the immediate return. I don't want the delayed return. I don't want to think about in a year's time I might be in shape. I want to think about what can I do today that's going to make me feel better, that I can improve and grow and learn with. Got another question. How can I stop being so paranoid about my partner? We need to look at the underlying question that's there. It's not about how can I stop being paranoid about my partner? Is that you are paranoid about your partner? Is what are you paranoid about? What you can look at with those questions is, what can I see about my partner? How can I communicate better with my partner so that my fears are alleviated? What can I do to improve our relationship so that I don't need to feel paranoid? Where are the areas of paranoia and how can I improve the situation? Right? And it takes depth. It takes looking at these questions in depth. If you're feeling paranoid about someone, and the person who asked, I really honor you for asking that question because it's a really powerful question. But if you're feeling paranoid about something, number one, what are you feeling paranoid about? How do you improve the situation? When we're talking about a relationship, communication is so key. Honest communication, not accusations, communication. Not you're doing this and it's making me feel like this. I think you're doing this. I believe you're doing this. The secret to a great relationship is communication. And communication is not about being right or wrong. It's about opening yourself and discussing and airing what you feel. And so someone else can give you their opinion and working together to come together to overcome it. When it comes to relationships, when we're talking about these questions, a lot of the questions are self-focused. How can I be better? That was a great question because it talks about in the context of a relationship. Number one thing with relationships is always communication. Because once you stop communicating and you start accusing, you're on a slippery slope. And there's also a phrase which I really love, and it's about communication. It's about being right, because so often in a relationship, people want to be right, or they want to say something and have their opinion mean more than the other. You can either be right or you can be in a relationship. Can't be both. A relationship takes two, it takes communication, it takes work together. So if you're feeling paranoid, great question. If you're feeling paranoid about your partner, understand what's making you feel paranoid and ask yourself, how can I communicate this fear in a beautiful, elegant, effective manner? That's your focus, rather than I'm paranoid that they're doing this or they're doing that. That might be your question. We've got another question. How can I forget some bad things from the past? That's a great question, because in that person's mind will be what happened and I'm reliving it over and over again. How can I forget the bad things that happened in the past? Is, if you're focusing on the bad things that happened, focus on how did this make me grow? How did this improve me? If I wanted to find the meaning in it, what could the meaning be? If I wanted to find the gift, no matter how hard the situation is, if I wanted to find empowering meaning, if I wanted to find something that's going to make me stronger, make me better, make me learn, what have I learned from this? That's how we can overcome the past. It's not the situation. The person who's wrote this in, I wish that you didn't have to go through these situations, but that's not life. Life will contain stressful moments, and I don't know what the situation is. But all I can tell you is this: we can't go back in the past and change the situation. But what we can do is change the meaning of that situation, what it means to you, and how you're going to use it to help you drive forward. What can you find in that meaning that makes you better? What have you learned that's been a gift? How has this been a benefit to you, even if it's been painful? Don't get me wrong, I'm not dismissing the pain, but how can we make it beneficial to you? How can you look at that and think, yes, that was terrible, it was horrible, but I've come out of it stronger. What do I know about myself now? What do I respect about myself? What do I admire about myself? I was reading an interview with someone recently, a woman, and she's like a super high flying business person. And she was talking about how she was raped when she was younger by a family member. And she said for so long, she was asking herself, why did it happen? Why did it happen? Why did it happen? And the interview was all about that. She was saying like, why did this person do this to me? I trusted them. Why me? Why did I do this? And she was saying how she lived with that for so long, that pain. This is a great interview. I'll send the link around. And she also mentioned that after a while, she got to the point where it's like, I'm never going to understand why, but I'm not going to let this moment define the rest of my life. I'm not going to let this moment be the thing that defines who I am. It was shit what I went through. It was traumatic in the extreme. But what can I learn from this is I don't want this to hold me down. I want to learn that I'm strong enough to overcome. I want to know that I've got this inner strength to go forward. That's what you focus on. The difference between people who've been through extreme things and can still move forward is what they're focused on. It's not that they've taken away what happened to them. It's that they're focused on their life meaning more than the situation that they've been through. So for that person, how do you forget some of the bad things? You don't have to forget the bad things. You have to use them to your advantage. We're hitting 9 o'clock, and I sent on the email that I wanted to respect people's time, and I want to do that. But there's another question that I just want to go through, and I really appreciate there's been so many questions and great comments here. How do you deal with negative responses to your positive mind? Just so we can clarify that, do you mean negative responses from other people to when you're being positive? Because if so, when we're talking about other people, not everybody's going to be on your journey. Not everybody's going to want to see what you want to see. Not everybody's going to focus on what you're focused on. But that doesn't mean that your focus should be influenced by that, because they're trying to make you not believe what you're focusing on is worthwhile. This is about the inner belief that what I'm focusing on is for my benefit, and I've done the exercise. I know why I'm focusing on it. You don't have to walk that path. the path to success, the path to enlightenment sometimes is really lonely. And one of the major reasons I wanted to create this webinar is because I don't want it to be lonely. Yes, you don't know everybody in here. You don't know who's on this call. I see the number of people. I know the different personalities, but you're in an environment where people want to do the same thing. And so how do you deal with negative responses? It's a test. See it as a test. You're trying to block my focus. You're trying to take me off course. Well, I know what off course does. It leads me down to a place I don't want to go. So maybe you don't want to go here with me. Maybe it's not for you. That's your belief system. You know what they're doing. They're deleting information. They're generalizing. They're distorting. They're doing all those things. You know that. Now you've got the knowledge of what they're doing. So see it for what it is. You don't need anybody's permission to focus on something you want to focus on. You don't need anyone's acceptance. You do it for you because you know the benefit it'll have in your life. There will always be haters. There'll always be naysayers. There'll always be people who are telling you what you're doing is wrong based on their beliefs, based on their traumas, based on their past. Now, do you want to live your life by someone else's blueprint? That's the question. And so how you deal with negative responses is you don't deal with them. You carry on focusing on the number one important thing in your life, which is you. You focus on what you need to do for you. Because let me tell you this, when you get there, you might have got there you might get there on your own, but there will be people who support your journey and there'll be people who won't. It doesn't mean that it needs to stop you from getting to where you need to get to. And so we've come to, I'm just looking to see if I've missed any other questions. Any other, I'm going to spend just like another couple of minutes answering questions so we can learn together as a group. We've already overrun by 3 minutes, but let's go till 5 past. If anybody needs to leave, please just leave on time. I know for the people in the UK, I think I'm a Celebrities on soon, so I'm expecting a lot of drop-offs in the next few minutes. For the people outside the UK, it's this program that's really popular in the UK right now, and there's a lot of hype around it. So any questions, I'll just leave it open for another couple of minutes. And any comments as well that you've got, I'd love to hear them. I'll be sending around the worksheet to do, which will include the questions, which are, again, what's the challenge in your life? What are you focusing on right now, honestly? What are the negative focuses you're focusing on? And then what do you want to focus on? What do you want to see? And why do you want to see that? Because the why part of that is the belief part. What do you believe will be good about seeing something new? Part 2 of that worksheet is what are the habitual questions you ask yourself? What are the things that are going over in your mind? Why this? What if this? Why is this going wrong? Why always me? What if it all goes wrong? What are those questions that are swimming around your head all the time? And what do you want to replace them with in the positive? And I would always say what and how questions are really good. And especially when they're like, what can I do about this and enjoy doing it? How can I feel more happy in the situation and enjoy it? What can I notice about this moment that I'm really grateful for? What can I take from this moment that will help me grow? That's what the rewording of these questions should do. We've got to be so careful with our questions. So careful. We need to know what we want out of life. We really need to know. And I've got another comment here. My friends don't believe my vision for my future. It makes me rethink my options. If you're looking for everybody to believe in something before you do it, don't do anything, is the answer to that. Because not everybody's going to believe what you believe. Not everybody's going to not everybody believed the world was round for a while. And the guy who believed it, he was alone until he proved it. And now everybody believes it. You're not going to be on this path with people. The whole point of achieving your goals is if you've got the strength and the resilience to keep moving forward no matter what gets in your way. If you're waiting for approval from someone, you won't get enough approval, because here's the problem with approval. If you get it, you always want more. So your friend might give you approval, and then you need 5 friends to give you it because you're used to one friend giving you it and it's not enough. Then you need the buzz of 5, 10, 15, 20 people. Approval you'll never get the approval you need. The approval you need is from inside. You approve what you want to do, you approve your vision, and then go towards it and ask yourself the right questions. Finding motivation. We've got a quick question, and I'll go to 10 past because I do want to get through these questions. What's the best way to find motivation? The way to find motivation is to know why you're doing it, not just why logically, is to find what it means to you emotionally to do something. There's a technique that I described to someone in a coaching session the other day, and it was about asking, we're talking about how why is sometimes a bad question to ask. When it's in the negative, why is a very bad question to ask. But when it's about motivation, why is a really good question to ask? Because when we're talking about motivation, if you say, why do you want to lose weight? And someone says, because I want to be healthy. Okay, that sounds like a good answer, but it doesn't feel compelling. It doesn't feel like, oh, that's a great answer. That's going to get me motivated to go to the gym tomorrow. It just sounds like, yeah, okay, I'm motivated because I want to get in shape. Keep asking yourself why. Why is that important to get in shape? Because I want to be healthy. Why is it important to be healthy? Because I've got a 2-year-old child and I want to be able to play with them. Why is that important to you? Because my parents were never there for me and I want to be there for my child. Now you're motivated. Now you've got a real motivation that's a lot deeper and more emotional than I want to get in shape. Now it might be another reason that you might want to. I'm using the gym because it's always a good analogy, but it might be that why do you want to get in shape? Because I want to feel healthy. Why do you want to feel healthy? Because I want to, and I also want to look better. Why do you want to look better? Because I want to be attractive to the opposite sex. Why is that important? Because I don't want to be single for the rest of my life. I want to meet someone. I want companionship. I want to experience love. The reason why you're going to the gym is because you want to experience love, not because you want to get in shape. You need to find the underlying emotion behind what you want to do. And that's why when I've said, think of what you want to see focus-wise, what do you want to focus on? Then ask yourself, why do I want to focus on that? And make it emotional. Don't just make it logical. Make it emotional. Make yourself really feel what it would feel to, I want to feel good about the situation. Why? Because my life would be different if I feel good about it, because I'll appreciate this and I won't go to sleep stressed every day, and I'll be asleep at night, and I won't be full of disease because I'm stressed all the time. Find emotional triggers that make you want to motivate. Motivation, and that question's a great question because I'm going to do a whole series on motivation. It's not even enough to do in an hour. It's going to take some time to do. The same for focus. There's so much more we could discuss today. I've got pages of notes here, pages and pages of notes that we haven't even gone through because we need to go through this in enough detail. I'm going to end the webinar here because it's 10 past and I did say I would stay on time and I've overrun. I'm so appreciative of every single person that's come in and spent time with me today. I really hope that you've got something out of it. I know you've got something out of it. And the challenge now is implementing it. That's the thing. I know you've got the knowledge and I want you to implement this. I want you to start using these tools and thinking when you wake up in the morning, what do I want to focus on? And then at the end of the day, thinking, what did I see that lined up with that focus? Start training yourself, consistency, habits, getting into the right rituals, asking yourself the right questions ongoing is what's going to get you there. I've really enjoyed doing this. It's been different because I can't see anybody's faces, and that's a whole new experience. So for me, this is great. It's a learning curve. It's a beautiful experience. I've really enjoyed every second of it. I hope you have too. I look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks' time. Every 2 weeks, we're going to run this an hour long. And the reason for that is we need to mentally train. Mental training is not once every 6 months or once by accident on Instagram. It's about setting time aside to train your mind and train your brain. And I'm looking forward to running this again. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everybody from the UK, the European people that have logged in, the people in the States, the people in Central America. Thank you so much for your time. And God bless you all. I wish you nothing but the best. You can create what you want to create in your life with focus, with determination, and with just knowing what it is you want. Define that and go after it. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in 2 weeks.